a choice right now, between fear and love. It's just a ride.
Out of the dark night of ignorance and into the shining light of truth.
Expanding reality.
A population of citizens capable of critical thinking.
We don't see things as they are, we see them as we are.
There's a level of reality where everything dissolves into an ocean of energy.
We empower our experience by insisting on our authenticity.
That's very profound. Very.
Expanding reality. All right, cut. We're done. We're finished.
Right out, right?
Fuck off. I'll just AI the rest of this. So don't.
Yeah, that's right. Script it.
Nowadays you can.
That is right. All right, Jarin, Greg, Victoria, it is so nice to see y'all. Welcome to Expanding Reality. We're hanging out, having a great time already, and grateful that you guys are here. Appeared on your wonderful show, Rise Media TV, last Sunday, which will date the airing of this episode. We're doing this on a full moon. We're doing this. I started it at 5:55 Central. So there's all sorts of great things going on here. 5:55, of course, if you're following all that, significant change is what that signifies. So grateful to have you all on. I'm going to, if you don't mind, ask you all to introduce yourselves for the audience here. And Jarin, actually, we're going to start with you, Bubba. Kick it off.
Hey, man, we are so grateful to be here. I know I am. We enjoyed you on the show on Sunday. So check the Rise show out from this past Sunday. What was the date? The 30th?
Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent show with Brother Brandon here. And so for me, who the hell am I? Who's Jarin? So I expand your reality. Work with consciousness and manifestation, both on a collective level as far as what is universal, like what makes us all the same, consciousness, energy, frequency, vibration, and how we can direct our movie along with act in it. And then also what makes us unique and different, unique that no one else has your specific code, your specific chart, your specific self through the cosmic human design system. So kind of from a perspective of initiative, it's, me helping to inform and learn as we go here and learn from others, but to inform how we can more quantumly manifest from a universal and a unique individual perspective. And brought me right to Victoria and Greg, and, led us to where we are with Rise 4.5 years later of the journey together.
So cool. You guys are absolutely crushing it. We're going to talk about it. Jarin, you and I have a mutual friend in Nicole Eaton. So we want to both mutually shout her out for this connection. When she and I spoke, she was just like, "Oh my God, I got the perfect dude for you. You got to talk to this guy." And she could not be more right. The intuitive connections on this stuff are so fascinating. And it's one of my favorite parts about this. Even same when we meet and we get together behind the scenes, the first thing we talk about is, "Oh my God, have you had on? Oh my God, I saw you had on this." And we do these guest swaps, and it's just sort of like this, making sure that we can spread the message of how much talent is out here, how many incredible folks are out here, and just I love it. So shout out Nicole. You will be linked down there for your connection, and I appreciate that, as well as all the ways to find you guys here tonight. So Victoria, if you don't mind, introduce yourself for this crowd that's eager to hear from you.
I probably don't have as much to say as Jarin. I am Victoria Schumacher, Greg's wife. I am the Zen LPN, the natural nurse, as he likes to call me. I do the Sunshine News on Rise TV. I am so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having us. And thank you guys for tuning in for this lovely episode. And Rise TV, we're a fantastic source of information, entertainment, and inspiration. So we encourage you to always, of course, come and check us out.
Yeah, and the Sunshine News. Thank you, Victoria. And the Sunshine News is awesome. And happen to be wearing the Sunshine shirt, by the way.
There you go.
Youth, link down in the show notes, guys. Check them out.
Perfect.
Forgotten Youth. So thank you so much. Good call. And I love that. You have adorable, amazing, warm stories on there. And your whole program, guys, the whole thing that you do, it's not syndicated, but you have segments. It's very deliberate and intentional. And I love that about everything. So, Greg, how are you, brother? Let us know, please.
I'm doing great, Brandon. Love being on your show. And also, Victoria is a 12-year nurse and did not take the jab and got fired.
What?
So she made them fire her. over that.
did.
And so we'll see. We'll see what happens in the future here, but she's a warrior there.
Wow.
So she leaves that stuff out, but that's important information right there. That's standing up for ourselves. So
Yeah. Takes balls. Good for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm Greg Schumacher. I'm kind of the designer of this whole Rise thing. From the beginning, I kind of had an idea to do a podcast, and it started off with a Revolution Radio, and then it moved to Rise Up Radio, and now it's Rise TV. So we had a little bit of an evolution, but it started with me for 3 episodes, and then Victoria jumped in. She's like, hey, I want to be part of this. So then she started going Facebook Live with it. So that was the first time we ever went live with it. And then we met Jarin at a party, and I had him on the show, and he just started becoming a monthly guest until he became a full-time host. So all 3 of us have been hosting this show for almost 5 years. And it's a lot of fun, and I love being the creator of this and designing sets and putting together all the technical issues. And when we go live, anything can happen. And I love the thrill of going live. It gets me pumped up before I go on the show. I get nervous almost every time we go live, because I never know what's going to happen, whether it's the guest not showing up or showing up late, or it's just technical difficulties, or just performance issues. Every guy knows those.
Hey now.
It is, the live thing is an element. I do a live on the Conscious Awakening Network called Expanding Awakening every Friday at 8 to 10 Central. So shout out, I'll go ahead and plug it. And it's one of those things. You're there a little early. You're making sure the stream key is up and everything's ready to go. And even then you're like, okay, does it go live? And then even then, whenever you start the live, is there a way out of this? And this is a question for y'all, absolutely, as people who do this consistently, that buffer time from where you think you're live, but you don't know yet. And you're sitting there going, okay, well, we're just going to wait until we go live. And it's sort of this awkward 20 seconds or so until you can verify the feed, and then you go. Do you have tips for somebody in that buffer period so that there's not an annoying, let me not say annoying, unprofessional baffle through the beginning of it?
So are you saying like right before you go on the air, as it's counting down? So usually what happens is our show, the best way I figured out to get rid of technical difficulties as much as possible through trial and error is to start the show 15 minutes early. So I start the show and I intro in the show, and then I allow a wait screen to go run while the countdown's going. So it'll count down for 15 minutes. So in that period of time, we get the guest on early. We get all Jarin in, Victoria gets her makeup done, she's on set, and I go through the steps of what's going to happen on our show. We have our segments, we have our intros, we have this, we have that. If you need a bathroom break, there's 2 segments where you can go and do that. So I run down all the stuff with the guests. And of course, we want to have a little bit, like sometimes the guests that you never met before, right? It's the first time you've ever talked to them, and you got 10 minutes or 5 minutes to kind of, catch up with them.
Do a rundown, yeah.
It's a pretty interesting time, because some, it works really nicely. And some you just think I get a little intimidated by some of them. Sasha Stone was intimidating to me when I had him on. He's a very well-spoken man. He's very well known, and I got a little intimidated. So I was like a little bumbling my words a little bit ahead of time. But once we got on air, see, the thing is you got to get in your flow bubble, right? As a guest and the 3 of us together, right? And the guest, got to get in our flow bubble. And so once we get going and get talking and momentum going, it gets a lot better. But that beginning part, right before you're going on the air, sometimes the guest is talking and you're like, okay, you got to stop talking. We got 20 seconds before we're on air. Like they're telling a story. You don't want to interrupt them. Yeah. But there's so many things to live. But, the best thing is,
starting early.
I just have a rundown, and sometimes Jarin will help me along if I forget something. Make sure you pin your Zoom window. Make sure that you understand the segments that are going to happen. In the beginning, when we do our intro video, you have to be on mute, because if you make any sounds, you sneeze, it's going over the air. So those type of things kind of are routine for us now. So it kind of makes it a little more comfortable to get to the air, right? As we're counting down. That's the best way I can explain it, I guess.
That's great. It's a great peek behind the curtain for everybody back there thinking that this is just hit record and go, because it's not that. And we all, I'd hope you guys know that it's not that by now. I mean, the great ones make it look easy, right? But that's the whole point. So I wanted to, at this point, get into some freaky woo-woo stuff and talk to y'all and just really go for it balls out. I don't know if we didn't cover it in the beginning there, but nothing is off limits. No one is going to hold you to that. Well, he said it on that thing, so he must mean it's true, or she must mean it's true. It's none of that. This is a balls out, expand reality. Just go for it here, okay, guys? So I would like to know, what's that?
What? Oh, she says she has ovaries. She doesn't have
I have
balls.
ovaries. I don't have balls. I'm sorry.
Well, either way,
Ovaries out.
Spherical ovaries out. Anything spherical inside or outside. Technically, it's all inside. Ours is as well. So
still inside.
Yeah, technically, in more of a sheath type of a thing. So I'm very curious about freaky woo woo and how it was introduced to you. Jarin, how was freaky woo woo introduced into your life?
Oh gosh, I think I came in with it and thankfully had a mother that inspired it when I was really young. So I heard this stuff when I was 4 or 5 years old, that the ascension was coming around the time period 2012, and that intention creates reality. So absolutely, she was the first teacher, or at least supporter, that wanted me to be free and be aware and then pursue my own dreams. Both my parents, really. And I was always kind of independent and free-spirited. I never wanted a job ever. So I picked that the best job for me was a trainer, a personal trainer, fitness trainer, where I could run my own hours, run my own show. And I did that. But I think the next step here was in my mid-20s is when I really woke up to the fact that my thoughts were creating reality, and that my thoughts were also creating my negative reality. So both sides, through a physical issue as well as through positive things, good things happening in life. It inspired me to want to do more. And then, I connected with an Indian guru named Dr. Pillai, which changed my life forever. Because once I saw that stuff, I'll give you a quick story of a woo-woo. So I was meditating one night, hadn't met that particular teacher yet. Okay. I was just off in whatever I was doing land. And I went so deep that all of a sudden I woke up at 3 a.m. I was kind of in between awake and sleep. And I hadn't turned YouTube on, but it was on. And I was watching this guy do a lemon ritual and talk about karmic cleansing and doing these, certain chants and things going on. And I'm like staring at it in kind of like that in between zone, where like you're really seeing the movie. And I'm like, wow, I'm really into this stuff. This is what I want to do. And I still to this day have no idea logically how it came on the computer, but it was there. And then ever since then, I, dove me down that trail. And so, in finality, the ancient wisdom, or the, what we would call ancient wisdom, was part of the scenario of my awakening to what's beyond the norm, beyond what we see in the light spectrum, or beyond what is logical in linear time. But as well as with connecting with some of the people from the book and the movie The Secret. I lived out in Los Angeles at the time, became connected. I went to Agape every Sunday with Reverend Michael Beckwith, the most awesome experience you'll ever have, with 1,500 amazing people, where your vibe goes through the roof, and 99% of them are extremely conscious there. And I saw the way he did it and what it felt like, which really inspired my family of light desire as well, like to bring the Avengers together, and that there's going to be so many of us kind of arriving at a similar timeline together, and kind of went with both of those. And then I became a freak, where I was more worried about what I was manifesting from the invisible to visible than I was what was going on in the world, including my own body, and began to kind of set a target to where all I was focused on was programming myself so that in a certain timeline, and throughout my process, my dreams would come real, my purpose would become real. And what do I need to do to get there, to transform inside of myself and outside? And, that's a long story made short that could have 1,000 woo-woo examples in there, probably 1,000,000 now, but a lot that kind of rooted. And so for those of you out there, it could be a really positive catalyzation of some kind of experience that is beyond what you're used to and lets you see more, feel more, understand more. Or it also could be this challenge where you're like pushed to it, like that physical ailment was for me. It was so massive, I was ready to give up. There was no answer. And then lo and behold, the answer was basically to get my attention off of it, stop looking at it as a problem, focus on other things, and then it dissolved away on its own. But it took that push, so we can have really positive or really negative pushes. And I find that those are really what brings us beyond our comfort zones, rather than the in between where we kind of just cruise and don't really grow, don't really adapt, and, kind of go with the flow a little too much.
Yeah, the whirlpools. I call them like the flow of life is your progression. It's a river, a literal river that you're moving along. Then they have these little whirlpools along the side called just day job that you get stuck in and get a drinking problem and like hang out and talk about sports and shit. Like that's a whirlpool. Nothing's wrong with it. It's just a little side thing. And some people will go, man, that river's crazy. I've been down it enough. I'm going to hop in one of these whirlpools and just check the fuck out. And that's fine. It is, in my opinion, an option of experience, and it anchors a part of the experience to where those that do wish to flow, it increases the amplitude of the volume of the flow of the river, kind of a thing. It's a energetic binding component. But yes, I do agree with you that there are these side trails that you can take. But man, what an awesome experience that you've had coming up through this, especially with the support that you had. Was your mom an experiencer of any type, if you don't mind me asking? Did she come from a lineage of people who could, like, let's say, see stuff or communicate with extra dimensional beings or poltergeist activity, anything like that?
I think she's interesting. She's always been interested as a child, and she did have experiences. She saw when she was younger. Okay. So she's been waiting for this time for 45 years or more. Yeah. And she does quantum healing hypnosis technique. Okay. QHHT, the Dolores Cannon stuff. So, I've had that stuff around me since I was a little kid, just honestly. Oh yeah. Be like almost not prepped with it, but just given to it early. Like it's not something you had to figure out and tear down a religion and, be upset for 20 something years or whatever. You're just kind of like, oh, that's just the way. And it just is naturally appealing to you, which is really cool. You had great. Yeah, but I will say it took me about 20 years before I actually really invested myself into it more, free spirit. Sure. Positive minded. Sure. Health, want to explore that kind of mentality. But really, it took 20 years till I myself, decided to dive in. And I think that's because it was a personal thing. No one can tell you it.
Right.
People can say all they want. You have to arrive at your own experiences of awakening or your own metaphysical experiences that cause you to grow beyond what you were before, or to be interested in what you were beyond before. And it's not to say we can't learn from others. Of course we can. But I feel like, you really got to walk that path in your hero's journey, and you got to experience it for yourself. Otherwise, you're just taking in more information and other perspectives that may have nothing to do with what your reality is or what you're here to explore and go into.
That's a great point. It's not lost on me that we have other folks here, and I'll be right with y'all. But continue on this just real quick. It's interesting because the education you had growing up, because it was ubiquitous, but it was not attractive until 20 years later. The kids that are coming out now, some of the folks that we've spoken to, we have a wonderful parenting group, the Luminous Education Revolution, with Dr. Edith Mbutu Chan, and her son came to her. He's 8 now, and he came to her in a dream, her and her husband, before he was conceived, and he showed them a field of these glowing orbs, like an infinite galaxy of these glowing orbs that were coming through. And he said he was one of them, and that they needed to have him. Again, to this Dolores Cannon idea, this like third wave, and we're sort of referred to as the second wave, which is neat. But this child now, the same sort of immersion in it, but he's reading with the blindfold on and is fully committed and into this shit. It didn't take him the 20 years. You see how interesting that is? That the same thing, you and I had way different upbringings, but it took us the same amount of time-ish to get to the point to where we explored it further. This kid coming out, 8 years old, reading blindfolded and fully all about it, dude. Anyway, that's just fascinating. And we'll talk to you more because Dr. Edith, you guys would love to have her on your show. She does a whole presentation. She's wonderful. So Victoria,
yes,
what's up with the freaky woo woo? What's like the first thing that you heard to where you're like, this place may be a little crazy?
Gosh, I don't know. It started when I was younger. I always questioned everything. Like I would lay on the ground and stare at the sun and be like, where did all this come from? Where did I come from? Is there a greater like thing out there? Like, what if I wasn't born to my mother and was brought to another family? And like, I always questioned things. Nothing made sense to me. And then my grandmother died. My great grandmother died when I was 12. I was the only one not crying, and everybody thought that I was crazy. I was like, maybe I'm just more accepting of death at a young age. I don't know. It was kind of weird. But I had a weird experience a day or two after she died, and I felt guilty for not having any emotions. And I kind of like made myself cry in the sense. And I was like, I'm so sorry for not being sad that you left. And I was, kind of talking to myself. I had a candle lit. And I blew it out because I was like, all right, I'm done. I had my moment and I'm going to sleep. Turn out my light, candle light's back up. That's on. It wasn't no like red flame, you know, like when you blow it out, sometimes there's a red piece there and no, nothing. It was, nope. I used my fingers, put it out, lit back up on its own. And I was like, all right, thanks, Grandma. Appreciate you. Just freaked me out.
Just had a in the background for confirmation in this conversation too, which is cool. Yeah.
Yes. And that kind of followed me as I got older. My mom was like a really big hippie. She believed in reincarnation. She had a friend, Walter Benedict, Native American, awesome guy, believed in, you know, human rights and everything. I think he went to every parade you could possibly think of with his POW flag and everything. He was great, amazing guy. And my mom said that every life that she had, he was there. He was like her soulmate that followed her through every reincarnation that she lived. And it's amazing. It's a beautiful story. And then when my mom died, to validate that even more, I was there. I watched her last breath. You know, you have to clean up the room, whole process. And I brought most of her belongings home with me, including this inflatable balloon that said, "Get well soon." And I will tell you that this balloon followed me around for a week in my house until it deflated. And I still have this balloon deflated in a box in my house to this day. I've debated on inflating it since, but I haven't because I'm kind of like worried that it'll start following me around again.
Damn.
Yeah. But
so it's one of those Mylar type balloons that you can get at like the grocery store at the flower department. Or
Mylar balloons, the metallic ones. Yeah.
And
not the nylon.
Was attracted to you the whole time, like a static electricity. It just sort of binded to your energy and followed you around a little.
Yeah, it followed me up the stairs. It would follow me down the stairs. I sat on the couch once. I was getting ready for work, and the balloon. I was tying my shoes, and the balloon like stopped like right next to me, and I was like, "All right, Mom, you're freaking me out. Stop!"
Yeah.
Like,
how much grieving were you doing then, though? Do you think it was more of a message from your mom to get well soon, meaning you get better from the grieving that's occurring because she's okay, sort of a thing?
I think it was more along the lines of, again, like with my grandmother, like I didn't express my feelings and my emotion. And I think that was her trying to say that it's okay and it's time to release, because during the whole process of my mother dying, I was the mother of the family, taking care of my brothers and sisters. And, you know, I was my mom's final say person. I had to sign all the papers and pull the plug and everything else, plan the funeral and buy the stone. I was like the keeper of everything. So I think when all was said and done, I think that was her saying, okay, it's time to let go and just release and feel it, I guess. I don't know. Maybe.
Some people could have just been like, oh, this balloon and static electricity and science and whatever. But I like it was so specific, and you know for sure. There's just such a knowing with that. That's fascinating. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. What is up with the freaky woo woo? What's the first thing where you're like, what the fuck is that?
Well, I remember when I was probably 8 years old, and I was in my grandmother's house. There was some kind of house party going on. My parents were there and everything, and we decided as kids to go upstairs and play hide and seek. Now, my grandmother is still alive to this day. She's the only one that's left of my grandparents.
89?
89. And she has always carried around spirits with her. She talks about it all the time. She knows they're there.
Dude.
My parents saw things when they were kids around her house. So
she's been in so many accidents too. And sometimes we're like, I don't know how you're still alive. Like she fell asleep at the wheel and
woke up in park on the side of the road.
Parked on the side of the road. Crazy.
Dude. So I'm in her house.
She has spirits following her.
I go upstairs to play hide and seek. It's dark. And I walk into the one bedroom to hide behind the bed. And I see an indentation of a person laying on that bed.
Oh my God.
And my goosebumps of my arms and my whole body paused. And I was just in goosebump land. I was like, whew, I was trying to breathe. and I couldn't back out fast enough. I was just like, come on, back out. And I went downstairs. I remember sitting on my father's lap the rest of the night. I would not leave his side.
Wow.
Because I felt that energy was so powerful in that room. And that was just, and they've always told me about the stories later on about how the dogs would go crazy barking up the stairs and like just all kinds of things. The spirits just follow my grandmother everywhere.
Yeah.
So,
Tell about radar.
it's like a spirit was just taking a nap for a little bit. Physical reality, like it needed a physical bed to take a physical break. In reality, your Gma was just like, hey, just go take a nap for a
Just go lay on top of the spirit.
I'm watching my stories, you know what I mean?
Yeah. His son had an experience too.
Yeah, my son also, when he was younger, he told me one time that he was seeing the man in the mirror. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, every once in a while, like I go by the mirror and the man is there. He's in the mirror. And I said, oh, and it would freak me out. And I said, can you tell me more? Like, do you see him other places? He's like, well, once in a while in the house, like places, like he'll walk by the door or something, but mostly in the mirror. And I was like, holy Christ. I'm getting goosebumps right now just talking about this.
Like, get that haunted ass mirror out of your house, man. What kind of like devil was doing cocaine off of that thing?
Yeah.
You got it at a yard sale. They're like, it's $5. You're like, this is an antique that just take it. Great.
Just take it. Just get it. Get rid of it.
Yeah.
Just take it.
It's a portal.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe it's the only portal of him being able to be seen. He could be in the house still. I don't know. But.
And like I don't know, that thing from Superman, whenever they trap him in the cube and they spin its ass off, he's just in sort of this two-dimensional space. Have you looked into the mirror work or mirror spirits or energies or anything based on what your son said?
No, I never really researched more than that. It did go away after about, I think it was maybe a year of him seeing it, and then it finally went away. But you know how kids are; they outgrow the idea of seeing that, right? Yeah. They're not able to like conjure up that type of vision anymore. They've moved past it in a lot of ways. They block it. So I think at that point he blocked the energy.
Do you think that that's a deliberate thing having to do with the experience here? Is sort of you take a break from it for a little bit? Some people don't; they're just intuitive forever. But
yeah, true.
You just kind of take a break
intentional.
from it back. Yeah, or deliberate. I know folks have talked about how they had an experience when they were younger, and they're fine with it. But their dad had an experience, and he said, "In the name of Jesus, I don't want this," and they never came back to him. So allegedly, like you can say no, thank you. You know, which I'm a big fan of. I'm a sovereignty type of person. Like. My body, my choice kind of shit. You know what I mean?
Even with ghosts and spirits.
Yeah, everything.
Not dealing with you, go away.
Limited in any way. I'm not fucking around here with semantics, these gin and shit. Get out of here. So what is one of your favorite unsolved mysteries? Jarin, we're going to come back to you. We're just going to kind of do a round on this, but anyone can answer this. I'm very curious. So unsolved mysteries, just something freaky woo, anything that you think, the money pit, any of that. What do you think?
Jarin?
Oh, you're coming back to me now.
Yeah. Swing it back around.
Great song.
So can you
like
me
Oak
more
Island
clear?
or the pyramids and how they were something different than what they say, or a specific UFO crash, like what the fuck is going on in Antarctica, or just ghosts?
The one that just happened?
Yeah. Like ghosts in general, just anything that you find interesting that's a cool mystery you enjoy.
Honestly, my answer may sound a little boring or vague, but it's life itself. It's the hologram itself. So for me, it's like all these things, even like, you know, they're like phenomena, right? But they come and go. So we think we just had this spiritual experience, you know, like, wow, what is that? The reality is this is going on all the time. And then for me, it's more amazing, my connection to it, how my consciousness interacts with it, what I can do to interact my consciousness with it, and the fact that there's so much more than we can see. And when you vibrate at certain levels, you start to see more. When you vibrate at certain levels, you start to be able to communicate with animals. You know, in certain ways, you start to communicate with nature. You start to see the synchronicities and the matrix code in a way itself, which of course has more and more and more behind it. So for me, it's kind of like, just amazing of what is actually real, what is actually life, what is my connection to it, how far back do I go, how many experiences have I had, what is matter, what is time. This is my feeling of what I would call super normal, or what is the mystery, because the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. And so the more that I feel I've seen or heard or experienced, turning power off and on with my thoughts consciously, those kind of things, the more you do those things, then you're like, wow, what else could I do? Or then you have this falter and you fail and you fall and you're like, oh my God, what did I do here? It's amazing, the interconnection of life and what is beyond the human intellect, and what is possible of what we could see, what we could feel. And, the only thing that I can say in regards to this that's a guarantee is it's your vibration in the moment. And so if you're willing to get in tune with yourself and raise your vibration in the moment, let's say elevate it, put more light into your being, be more light, you see more of these things. You'll see more, you'll notice more. And I think that's more interesting to me than just certain phenomena. So that's where I tend to go on the collective or the macro scale of it, so to speak.
Yeah. What a great answer. Mine's spontaneous combustion. Greg, what you got?
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Spontaneous combustion. I haven't heard that one in a while.
Exactly.
It's like what's going on? A decade ago, I remember hearing about that.
I have my theories, but what's yours, Greg?
Well, mine is somewhat similar to Jarin's. The simulation theory is becoming more and more a reality to me. I really believe that we are in a simulation, and that, it's an interesting thing though, because it's not the way we think it is, because thinking is not really how you control it. It's through feeling. It's through the idea of connection, right? Feeling connection, as you were saying, vibration. But we can't be on this journey alone either. I think it's a putting the forces together, right? When you're getting together with amazing people like on this podcast, you start to really unlock some things. You really start to dig into what the simulation is. And the ultimate question is, who the fuck designed this thing?
Oh shit, right?
Right?
The higher beings who own us all. Those are the ones who.
Well, but
you did, man. You did, Greg.
Well, think about, I mean, obviously video games, right? You go out, you buy a video game, you put it in your computer and you start playing it. Well, someone designed that for you to play.
Dude, Sims freaked me out, man.
But do we play our own game? Did we design this and put ourselves in it?
The Sims.
That's the thing. Yes. They say about the Sims, by the way, good poll, that they'll be self-aware. And I heard this a few years back, and they said in like 10 years. So any minute now, they're going to be knocking on the screen going, let me out, is basically the first thing.
Exactly.
Get me the fuck out of
I'm
here.
like, who's to say that someone isn't playing our lives just like we play The Sims? Just saying.
Samesies, dude. This is what I'm saying. Like, I'm smelling what you're stepping in hardcore. And then it feels like we're the ones knocking on the screen now, because there's talks of firmament energies, simulations. Like, we're the ones going, maybe it's a simulation. Like, I love that Mario thing where he's sitting up on the castle roof with Princess, and it reads like, there's no way to tell we're in a simulation, So he's like telling her all of this shit because he's himself in a video game. So I find the whole damn thing so fucking fascinating, man. And I love this concept of, let me ask you this. What do you feel the vibe of this place is then if it is a simulation? Meaning, do you think like it's some sort of prison? Do you think it's some sort of learning experience? What are y'all's thoughts on it vibe wise?
To me, I don't believe it's a prison. I really don't. I don't think that. But I have heard people lately say that since aliens are real and the government is admitting they're real and nobody's really reacting that big to that information,
to it.
A lot of people are saying, I want to get the fuck off this planet. So if the aliens are real, come and pick me up. Let's go someplace. So people are ready to go.
Swing by Texas.
For the longest time, they were saying that you can't live on other planets. So now, if there's, people, humans or aliens or whatever on other planets, then it's livable, right?
I'm thinking though that the planets thing is a Schumann resonance type of a thing, like that our body is in sympathetic resonance to this realm, whatever this is. And that presupposes, by the way, that space is a thing and that planets are a place you can go. I'm not a flat earther, but I love the conversation. I am a critical thinker. And I think anyone worth salt as far as critical thinking goes, with the evidence that you're given, should have some questions is all. You don't need to
We had Flat Earth Dave on as well.
love Dave Weiss, dude. He is so great. That's a bomb you throw on the internet and you just leave the comments. You open the door.
Oh, yeah.
People hate you for it.
People get so mad.
So bad.
You just shut the
It was good.
away.
It was a good show. Yeah.
There's just too many. So you look at Galactic, right? Galactic people, I love them. We have them on the show. They're fantastic. There are a lot of intuitive people. They're people who get messages through them, channeled, right? So it's not coming from factual. It's coming from a channel. So what Dave does is he actually takes facts and he says, look at how far you can shoot a laser. Look how far you can see that, right? And there's no way it's round as they say it is, right? And I believe that it's no way the way NASA says it is. I don't know what it is, but it certainly ain't that. But so if I'm saying about the galactic people is I think it's a vibrational thing. I think they're picking up on vibes from a different dimension, right? A different place where you can go to if you're able to, right? If you're vibrating at that level.
Yeah, it's sort of it's a dome thing, but it's an energetic misapprehension, but it still changes the game as far as what the realm is. And I agree with you that there's some bullshit going on in NASA, dude. That's for damn sure. And that never a straight answer and all that kind of stuff. It seems more of one of those obvious pings to me. Number one, the mouthpiece it comes to, which I'm already detached from investing my energy into the whole fucking thing. But then also there's another just obviousness to it where it's just like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. It's that I feel like that Leonardo DiCaprio thing where he's like, and he's like pointing at the screen, you know, he's like, hey, and he's like pointing at shit that he sees that's absolutely true. I want to bring in a model here of something that I saw on TikTok that I've been talking about lately because this blows my fucking mind. Have you guys heard of Archaics or Jason?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
When they
talk about the reset and things like this, I start to envision models for this kind of thing. Like, what is this? What does this look like? And this person came up with this model that just blew my mind, and it sort of answers a lot. It's a clunky representation of what may be going on, and so I just kind of want to play this for you guys and show you. Essentially, for the audio only audience, check the link in the show description so that you can check this video out as well. And in fact, I'll just link the video directly down there so you can pull it straight up if you don't want to hunt through the video for it. Noted. There we go. Okay. So there's a dope little model here, and I'll sort of describe as we go here because the audio is not important. There's a ball, a sphere submerged in water with water completely around it. Now there's a plug on top of this thing where the sphere has a hole in the top of it. In the inside of the sphere at the equidistant plane, the equidistant plane right there, the middle, a flat disc is represented with trees and landscape and stuff like that. And then there's a pump system that's pumping water out of the sphere and then back into the tank at a continuous rate. So it excavates the sphere when the hole on the top is plugged. That's a bang on description of this bitch. So, that's what may be going on here. And maybe, like every couple thousand years, the dude holding his finger on the plug up here just gets tired and needs to scratch his nose or something and pulls it off and then floods you poo. And this is what's left over is sort of the pyramids and maybe this idea of, again, the sunken land masses and that mud flood idea is really just everything just getting washed the fuck out. It's sort of a reset, but more of on a physical experiment than a digital simulation. It's interesting. What do y'all think?
Well, I certainly love these types of discussions, and I looked at a lot of different models, and including the round ice wall with all of the land beyond the ice wall, which could very well be, and that's maybe where how you get over that wall is maybe with a UFO, huh? I don't know, and maybe those lands out there are Mars and Venus. Who knows? But to me, this is such a fascinating conversation, and when we talk about the mud flood theory, we see all the buildings. Right? I go around my own hometown in Albany, New York, and I can look at buildings that are taken over by the state that are gigantic energy buildings. They have antennas. They have sound inside them. They have gigantic doorways.
Wow.
Tartaria is a real thing, and it's everywhere. And I see it in even my hometown when I walk the streets. Mm-hmm. And we've had some excellent episodes on this, including the pyramid people that talked about Russian pyramids and how they're like a higher peak to them. And they are definitely some kind of energy that's amazing. So a lot of good stuff here. You see a lot of those Russian pyramids on top of buildings too.
Dude, yes. I love this. And yes, absolutely. I've got a couple of guests, of course, like we do here. I've got a couple of folks that'll do some amazing presentations on this kind of stuff too. Just so many. And all of this idea of this ancient technology or this ancient history or something like that, yeah, it may have existed. I sort of look at this place when I look at Jason Bashir's work and all of that, as there's sort of a speed dating with Gaia that occurs here. There's like 120 years, maybe, I don't know, that you only need a couple of generations to tell people what this place is and they'll completely believe it. And so you don't need that long as far as that goes. And history is just his story. It's anything you were told, or that at least two generations ubiquitously, you'll have the one or two that's like, this is bullshit. And they're like, shut up. Those folks, so it only takes two generations. And then when you bring in things like the foundlings, have you heard of that when it comes to the mud flood idea? These the foundlings. It was hundreds of thousands of children that were trained across east to west through the country in these exhibitions to just give kids out to all these farmers who wanted to raise families and had crops and things like this across a newly settled air quotes country, right? So where the fuck did all these kids come from? Is it an alien hybridization program to where they scoop you up, you go outside of the simulation or the experiment, they genetically modify you in some way to be better for the next version. And then when the new version comes in, they drop the physicals in, then the souls in which it visited Dr. Ubuntu come in as sort of the interface, and then they walk around. What do y'all think?
Well, let me quick.
The Good Place.
The Good Place. Yeah, The Good Place. Have
you seen the TV show Good Place? Oh, you should watch it.
I'm a rock TV person, and that's about it.
It talks about this type of stuff where these people go to a good place after they die, and they're constantly tested, and then they get the chance to go back to Earth or their real life or something, right? Or
it has some twists and turns.
It had a lot. It's a good show.
But you're trying to figure out.
It makes you question a lot of things in regards to simulations and what's really happening.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to Charlie Weiss and Lisa Richards, who were the ones that did the pyramids, the Russian pyramids. So that was an excellent episode. But when it comes to, this simulation thing and all of this stuff, the show Westworld was about androids, right? That look like human beings, right?
Oh yes, that was a good
and
one too.
It was just amazing. It blew my mind. It was like the Matrix to me. It was just like, whoa, this was whoa to me. Yeah. To me, they have told us what an android or a robot looks like. They have told us it looks metal. It's got this. It's got. What if we are androids? We don't know what it looks like. We just are. We don't know these things. This is the stuff that goes through my mind when I'm driving in the car.
Mine too, and that's the whole point. Is that you've heard of people who get scooped up, ask the aliens, whatever they are, what are we? They're like, what do you consider us? Why do you just whatever? And they're like, just vessels. Like it's a throwaway thing. You're a suit. Essentially, it's just you're a suit. You just look like that, and you can be in any of them that you want. And we know this with the flexibility of consciousness, with people speaking about out of body experiences. And I know I've physically bilocated. I know this. It was DMT induced, but I was definitely two places at once. I was seeing with my third eye a completely different dimension that was amazing and very kinetic. And then I was hearing the physical room around me. And so I knew if I tuned into this, I could be here. But I was still very much not here. So there's this bilocation element to this. And then you think of things like sleepwalking, like all that kind of stuff. Like maybe that's what spontaneous combustion is. Your soul just yeets out to another avatar and it's like poof. And it's sort of like this Mission Impossible thing, like your body will self-explode, at a certain time or whatever. And you have to yeet out of the thing. And maybe you just come in, do a mission, yeet out, and it explodes. I mean, that's as good of an answer as any, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Jarin, what do you think?
So many movies.
I used to think in terms of this being a school, and then I used to think in terms of this being kind of a war, and then I used to think in terms of this kind of being a game. And I'm sure there's relative aspects to all that at play. I think what's amazing here is no matter what it is, when it comes to its cosmic truth, every thought you think is created and manifested into ether somewhere. So everything we're experiencing originally came from our imagination. So whatever's going on, whatever humanity has went through, we've invented and dreamed up for ourselves regardless. And you could say, oh, well, beyond human. Okay, there's other beings at play. We've had other lifetimes at play, but whatever it is, it's been dreamed up. And, so it's an amazing view when you kind of look at it from a big picture and say, well, really, when it comes down to it, the inner world creates the outer. And if I want to be in the moment and conscious, then I can start to consciously seed what it is I want this game to be, or what it is I want this war to be, or what it is I want this school to be. And then recognize also that, we're tapped in. First of all, you cannot be created or destroyed ever, the true you. And you exist on, our bodies, they can already, show us through science that we're tapped in through the multidimensional plane. What's relative and real here is that we're on this plane of existence, on this similar frequency that for whatever reason, the three of us and Brandon are tapped into. And now you audience members out there, you're watching, we're all tapped into this little frequency, such a small frequency in the existence of space, right? And we're playing this game. And then we also have this suit, this biological technology, and that definitely has been genetically modified. So in the game, whatever it was designed to be, whatever the plan was, as we went through time, there's been alters and adjustments and manipulations, whether good or bad, to the species itself. You can see it. And thankfully at this time, I think what we can all generally agree on is that something is increasing in speed, increasing in polarity or contrast, is causing us to become more unified with the field and resonate with certain beings more so than other beings. Let's just say it as that. And that our suits are coming online to where our memories of what we knew before are coming back, which also then means we'll see the history that we want to see. Oh, what was it really? Well, that'll happen from the inside out as we remember, and that we're becoming more light. And once we reach a point, just like alchemy, we're going to kind of flick a switch. And, I don't know how to explain it other than be in a different dimension with a different suit. The suit will be made of light, crystalline light. And I think that so many of us, or so many teachers out there that probably have way more knowledge than I ever do on it, they may know a lot, but no one really knows. They don't know. No one really knows what this revelation, this unfoldment of the truth, this apocalypse, which really just means the mystery being revealed, right? No one really knows what that's going to feel and look like. But what's amazing about it is, just as much as it may be set in stone, it's also based on what our imaginations and beings are creating. It's going to be what we have designed it to be, just as much as it's already designed for us. So there's this flip side of the coin of your reality of what is real out there? What's the real history? What's the real earth? What's the real purpose? All that stuff in the outside. But what about the inside? What do you want it to be? What do you see it as? What do you want to design it to be? What are you willing to do inside of yourself to get to that point? So this is a big circle rambling from my end of saying, dude, I would give different answers at 2008, 2012, 2016. And I've come to this point where I feel like I have all this could be articulate information and have not a clue. Not have a clue other than I'm consciously or subconsciously experiencing my reality. And I can only see 1% of what's out there if I'm lucky. And there's so much more to go, and there's so much more to be revealed. And it's kind of like Christmas. As much as it's a challenge, it's like presents are coming. We're kids at Christmas. And what is this new reality going to be? And what is real and what isn't? The thing is, not everyone's going to go with you. That's the thing is, some of us are going to go and some of us are going to say, no, I want to stay in the same Sims game. I don't want to change anything. I want to continue to be manipulated. I want to continue to stay in the carbon-based body and experience suffering and die. And some of us are going to say, no, I want to fly through time and space, and I want to create reality with my thoughts, and I want to be able to do things that are considered superhuman. And most of us fall somewhere in between.
Yeah. Damn, that's cool. I love the shit out of that, dude. And to something that you said as well about that nobody knows. I heard this theory or something like that. It's just fun that if anybody figures out what reality is, it immediately resets itself. Everything just everybody's like, all right, they figured it out. It's done. But I've also heard it interpreted, though, jokingly to that, and we do have a good time with it, that just had Brittany Renee on, and she is, again, same thing, got her on a list to connect with y'all. Something she talked about was that she was specifically told, number one, you are the calm in the chaos. So we people that are sort of more getting this now, she had channeled information from her guides back in 2020, does the Octurian thing, I believe, to get it correct. And she was specifically said that there's sort of something going to happen with the sun. There's going to be something going semi-tits up here, but it's all great. It's all for the greater. And on the other side of it, a very temporary type of a thing, then there is sort of this great flash. The great flash basically is this shift, right? It's a solar flare event or plasma apocalypse type thing, whatever. And it's an illuminating event where there's just basically like at the end of the night at the club, lights on, like game's over. Everybody just wakes up at the same time. And basically the ones we're talking about, the ones choosing to anchor that perspective for us to look at and go, no, thank you. They've still played a part in the game to be in the game to say lights on at the end. So there's no sort of punishment, I don't feel. But I mean, that's just how I feel about it. But there is, and what Brittany was talking about, is that there's sort of a moment where we all get to bring our parents in and anybody that, we knew to some sort of room with big ass screens, maybe on ships. And then we're wearing our galactic uniforms and we're explaining to like your mom that everything's going to be okay. And that, your fourth grade teacher or something like that, if she's still knocking about, that actually this was the way and it's going to be all right. There's no hard feelings, but there's sort of a passive understanding that everybody comes out of the roles they've been playing. You think about actors playing a role, then, Christian Bale, like these method actors who like punch their cab driver and stuff because no, it wasn't me. It was the character. And maybe there's some wind down from their process. I'm just in my method. And maybe there's some wind down from the process. And that's the ones that will just go, okay, guys, the movie's over. Like, here's your check. We're done. And it is sort of a very, very different thing. It's how she described it. What do y'all think about that? That gave me some comfort, if I might be revealing, that it's sort of a everybody gets to go, nobody left behind kind of thing. That we can be into the game, basically.
It could be. I don't.
What's the fun in that? No.
I don't know. It's so hard to tell. When we went through the pandemic, and I never thought we would have anything like that in my lifetime. I never pictured an entire world getting shut down.
Yeah.
That you couldn't go to any country to escape it. It was every single place in the world.
Everything was identical.
Everything was shut down. Everything was having a problem with this COVID thing. And I could not believe that in my lifetime, I was witnessing the world shut down. Everybody wearing masks. Everybody being told what to do. I was like, wow, this is intense, right? This is amazing that this is going on. And it really does lead you to believe that why couldn't it go the other way too? Where all of a sudden it's everything good. Right? Everything, all of a sudden, there's a switch turned and everybody goes, hey, surprise, guess what? All this talk of everything, it was just fun. It was just a game. And we're all going to just,
joke.
We're going to reset here. We're going to rewrite our script. We're going to go back and we're going to do it again. I don't know. I mean, anything's possible to me in this life because of everything I've witnessed, really. It's just amazing. Yeah. That's my take. I don't know. Victoria, what do you think?
It's interesting. Either way. Sort of a lights on, game's over, everybody go home. Sort of a nobody dies in this as well.
It's just boring.
Solar flash, nobody dies, like game's just over. Superpowers.
Are we going into like everybody wins a trophy?
Yes and no. Everyone gets a trophy in the sense of that everyone played their role perfectly. The people that scared the shit out of everyone in 2020 to stop fucking with the Real Housewives of whatever and to stop eating cheese puffs and to get the hell off the couch and to do more things for you and to go home and do shadow work in the form of a lockdown. And that's just how I see it. I don't view this place as a bad guy. I view it as a big play, or like Jarin was saying, more of a ride, a play, an experience. I view it through all the lenses. One of the ones I prefer is that there's no bad guy here, meaning that it's more of an adversarial component, not an evil enemy sort of component where there's super danger. There's the illusion of danger. But what it really serves as the function of is to motivate us creatively to create our own. When you get a video pulled off YouTube like I did, it immediately got me a website. I immediately went out and said, fuck that. I'm doing my own thing. It motivated me creatively. I didn't bitch about it. I didn't say, well, fuck this. I did create actually a Too Hot for YouTube channel that I'm very proud of, because we had several videos over there that I just knew ahead of time are not going to go there. They're too hot. We'll throw it there. So that was fun for a while. But even that I got over because I just stopped giving my energy to that shit. And so with this, I guess, new part of this, there is an interesting thing. Again, the way that I view this is sort of that it's a play. And so to punish the bad guy villain in real life, air quotes, when the play is over for playing his roles so fucking well that it motivated us to wake up creatively and to have these kind of conversations, because we weren't doing this like we are now. And people weren't waking up at the level they are. And this is just how I see it. So I see it as like another side of the experience. So therefore it wouldn't be punished. To the same idea of a unity consciousness that there's no hell to go to. It's like, why would you give yourself free will and then punish yourself for eternity for using it? Right. It's like I feel that that's an understanding that we get outside of this. It's a little tough to grasp in here, I suppose.
Well, Brandon, me and Jarin are releasing a book called The Rise Code very shortly. And one of the chapters is called Villains. And it's really about, looking around your life at yourself, the programs, the loops, the things that you're doing to yourself all the time, and the players in your play, and define your villains, right? That's number one. Shine the light on your villains. Now, can you use them as a catalyst, right? Can you use them as a stepping stone to the next level? And that's what I really look at it. Like, if you're thinking simulation, well, what happens in a simulation? What happens in a video game? You face a villain and you move on to the next level, right? That's what they're there for. Those people that are playing those roles, are they bad people? Is there bad people? We don't really know for sure, because they all have a mother and a father. They all were a kid at one time, supposedly, right?
What might be clones or NPCs.
Maybe. True. And so we don't really know what's going on there, but I know that I've viewed certain people as enemies for a while because of something I heard or something they may have done to me at one point. And then later on in life, I saw that somebody was sitting down with them at a table that I was friends with. I was like, oh, geez, I don't want to go near that person. But then I ended up sitting down and I ended up seeing a different point of view, right? You start understanding your opponent a little bit and you go, oh, he's driven like I'm driven, or he's got that part of him is like me, so you start to see the relation, right, of your villain. So if you can do that, if you can lean into the fear, lean into your villain, you can really learn a lot, and you can really catapult yourself forward in life.
Yeah, I like that, because it's so in common with you. It's annoyingly in common with you. You're like, ugh. It's just the goals and motivations are so different, but it's similar in so many structural ways. Just the gauges are switched a little different in the avatar internally. Super interesting. And something I was going to say about this idea of NPCs or non-playable characters, right? Mm-hmm. It seems to be that there's a shit ton of those and only a few, let's say, playable characters, like perhaps what we are. I have a thought that maybe 144,000 that's talked about in a lot of different things. Maybe the amount of people, air quotes, that are playing this game in meat suits running around here, right? And this is why I sort of feel that the coming out of the UFO thing isn't a big deal, because the NPCs are all plugged into the same program. They know that this is what's being rolled out. And so there's sort of a ubiquitous calm because there's no shock to it, like Orson Welles style, because this, in fact, in my mind, sort of alludes more to this either zombification through the pineal gland and fluoride and all that great shit, which I'm not ruling out. But then even that is mimicking this NPC or this lower, this subservient, like, just take my vessel, like, just take it. You can have it and drive it around however you want. What do you think of that?
Jarin, you want to go first?
Yeah, I think it's interesting you bring up the NPC thing, because one way to look at it is that that's what it is. It's not organic, conscious intelligence from a being as we would know it. And let's call it a technological program. The other way to look at it, and I'm not saying they're the only ways, just a second way to look at it is like someone who's fallen so far into the spell of the external and follow the lead and do what you're told and believe what you're told is real, loses themselves to where they're just a walking program. And they do, host or not, they just become a karmic wave that just follows the system, follows the plan. And regardless of whatever one those are, or whether there's both, the bulk of the planet is that. Yeah. Whatever we're calling this place, the bulk of the planet is that.
And then, and like, this is why we're spread out, because you grow where you're planted, but you're usually planted around a bunch of NPCs, motherfuckers. You know what I mean? A bunch of people following the wave of this program that are a wave of karma. I love that you put it that way. Yeah, that was a great way to put it.
And regardless, you know, like Greg was talking about in our personal transformation journeys, is we're here to learn and contrast. The cosmos is not a force over us. It's a reflection field. Period. That's a definite. It's a reflective field. However, in relativity, there are elements that are real that have limits towards us or influences over us, like such as if it's raining out, you're getting wet. Until you become strong enough to where you put a freaking you manifest an umbrella above you, or this field, this field that keeps you dry. You know, I want to see that. So for those out there, it's like, come on, let's see it. Until we do that, that means we're subject to the weather, you know, which means that there are influences over us that have more of a direct effect on what we have the freedom to do or not do with. And there's that controlling elements of who's controlling what that's causing our limitations. But I think no matter what, we can grow beyond, like we are being pushed, we're being encouraged, or the weather is making us. You know, I say like the ascension's kind of like we've arrived at this place in space, which is at this time that's been predicted for a long time, where the light's turning on. And in that light turning on, we have less choice of whether we want to go. Which way do you want to go? It's becoming a choice.
Yeah.
Here's the choice. Which way do you want to go? And not everybody's going to choose the same way. This whole where we go one, where we go all thing, I love it. I know what it means from the heart, but from a higher mind perspective, it's also a complete illusion. Because think of all the places you go that no one else goes. Think of all the different routes you take that they don't take. And to sit here and pretend that no one's dying is already wrong. They are. There'll be a lot more, way more. But at the same time, there is no real death. You're an eternal spirit that'll live forever. They're just flipping into a new game. They're blipping into a new place. Some of us, I used to love the number of the 144,000. I more think about it as a kind of a mathematical equation to our light body now.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I would look at it as, okay, there's 144,000 of us. To me, there's much more than that. There's a lot more. You can see it clearly, that are choosing to go to the next game or the next dimension. And we're choosing to not have to die to do that. We're choosing to stay alive in the body and transform our body, transfigure, transform, transmute. I mean, it's a lot, but we're going through that process to arrive to that new game. And we're saying that we're doing it consciously. Well, how much are we doing it consciously, and how much are we already NPCs and something's running us? You know, and I'm spinning in wheels right now.
I love it. It's where we are with it, dude, because the NPC thing is interesting. And the way that I've looked at it is maybe the game started when it reset from the last time with 144,000, even though there was a shitload more people here. The foundlings are sort of waves of this. And maybe that's what it was, 144,000 kids that entered America and they were shipped over everywhere, and the game begins. And in its generations worth of people living and dying and growing and breeding, and the population's increasing, meaning that there's more vessels here to either go with the program automatically or to be tapped into as light bodies to enact and to puppet here as physical conscious beings, rather than the NPCs we consider just folks that are handing it in, right? There's that are handing it over. And so I had, I feel these things and think of these things that with the more people here, that means that whatever was switching on the wave, it meant that the bodies that were here that made things incredibly dense were just the dip before the crescendo. They're the indicator of level up. The bunch of people, very, very heavy. And then all of a sudden, your friend wants to know about ayahuasca that you never thought, like, what the fuck? And then now your boss is watching spiritual video. You're seeing a lot of these NPCs get tapped the fuck into. Some people are sitting there saying, I don't remember my life past 2 years ago. Like, I wasn't the right person. I don't know how much metaphor is in that and how much literacy is in that. But there seems to be like a tapped into itness to where there's a bunch of people, like a dodgeball game, where we had to catch enough balls to get enough players back in the game to then inhabit these bodies, to then run around and do the damn thing that we're doing here. It feels, again, like this opportunity rather than this, it's just an NPC, fuck off. It's more of the in Mr. Smith effect. To go back to the Matrix, it's just that there's a lot less Mr. Smiths, even though the Mr. Smiths are the ones that get the most attention on TV. But really, there's sorts to be, it seems in my vision that there's so many more people tapping in now to these bodies that have been here. And maybe that's what this wake up is inhabiting these vessels with light.
Yeah.
Wild. We just speculate wild here, guys.
Yeah. So
I think of the Truman Show.
The Truman Show. Yeah. That's a good one. Yep. Yeah. You have actors all around you and you're the star of the show. you're the one they're trying to keep in the shadow.
Yeah. I feel like people are, in our lives individually and together. I mean, there are people who I go by the theory of, people are here for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And I feel that everybody in your presence is there for a reason. We may not know it yet, but they might be pushing us towards a path that we didn't know existed, or changing our mind, or making us think about something that we didn't think about before. Or there's always outside influences in regards to what we're going to do next.
Yeah. Even people that you meet that hand you a book. Maybe there's a liner note in the back of that book as you read it, and it's got a website in it, and you contact the website, and it ends up being like, I don't know, something amazing. Like there's so many different trails that you can go down with this place. And they're so beautiful when you really look at the symphony of this. Jarin, it seems like we're doing this big time, all of us, but I'm hearing Jarin say these fluid things like, yeah, it's in flow and we're all doing that. And it's not necessarily these niche into phenomena, which I dig the exploration of, but I'm with you on it. I kind of have shaken the presence to a point where I can see it all as the same thing, manifest in different ways that are facilitating different things for people. I've talked about it in the sake of Jinn, that it's all one genie type entity that can shapeshift. It can be an airplane. It can be a UFO. It can be fucking anything. Bigfoot, whatever. Poltergeist activity, go invisible, like all that kind of stuff. And it feels like that it's a mechanism of the environment. It's a facilitator of experience here that's sort of like it just molds out of an ether and it says, okay, I'm this now. And this is what you need. And then, okay, I'm this now. And it makes you go that way. It's fascinating how this works, but it's all, again, at a level kind of you. And I like asking folks about this split 3D, 5D thing, because again, like Brittany's got this beautiful, wonderful comfort, like, hey, lights come on. Everybody just is aware that the game is over. Other folks say, I mirror your thoughts on this similarly, which is that they've made the choice, meaning that there's no hard feelings, but they're going to go that way because that's what they've chosen to do, consciously or unconsciously. And then we're going to go this way because that's, again, what we've chosen to do. There's just simply a fork in the road, and you get to go that way or that way. Where would you like to continue the game? That's all it is. And I am digging the shit out of the ride either way.
Yeah, Brandon, I wanted to bring up the movie Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds. That was all about the NPC waking up. And when, we know the Simpsons have predicted a ton of the future, right? And the next one's going to be pulling the politicians' masks off and revealing they're all aliens.
Yeah. And we'll be like, yeah,
waiting for it.
Yeah.
But the NPC thing, I completely resonate with it. I feel it. You know how you feel answers? You just feel it, right? And that's one of them that I feel. I feel like I go into a bar, let's say, because Victoria works at a bar like once a week, twice a week. So I'll go in there and I'll sit and just have a drink, whatever, just observe. And I go in there and I see the same damn people doing the same damn thing over and over and over,
regulars,
getting so drunk. And I'm like, this person cannot do that every night. They would be dead.
They do.
But the NPC is there to show their loop pattern, right? That goes to the bar and he's always there. He's always in that seat so that it's familiar for that actual player to go into the bar and see that. And it reminds me of Westworld. Once again, you throw the human beings in with all of the NPC AI players, and there you have it. There's your world.
I feel like movies tell us a lot of reality that we didn't know existed.
Yeah, movies tell us a lot.
And that's the thing, is like this as above, so below. There's a lot of hidden shit here. And those are ways that I find, and especially pop culture, especially things like that. It stimulates your imagination, which I feel that has a lot of your power here. And then that enables you to critically think your way through things as sort of mini simulations in an environment. Like you're able to walk through emotional situations, the who, what, where, when, why, all these kind of things through mini versions of like Batman or like, the Notebook or some shit. There's just a variety of different types of content out there that you get emotionally attached to. And then, like they say, art imitating life or vice versa. Like, what is it doing? Is it training us how to be? Because then you'll see these volatile, ridiculous people in air quotes real life. And you'd be like, this is a person either watching nonstop reality TV and emulating to the letter everything these air quotes people do, or like it's not a real person, dude. Like people, it's a silly place that's getting sillier and more obvious, and I'm having a blast with it. I don't know about you guys. Are y'all in more fear or more elation and excitement these days?
Depends on the day and the moment.
Someday.
I'm enjoying it for the most part. I mean, your own little stupid things that happen in your life that make things harder are annoying, and they get you a little wound up. But the overall picture of everything, the government, I don't know when it was, maybe Bill Clinton era. I just said, Jesus Christ, it's a script playing out. This is ridiculous. Like the Obamas, and it was just a script. It just was a movie being played out. Someone directed it, someone wrote it, and they're just playing it out on the stage for everybody. That's all it is.
Love it. Love it. Michelle Obama, dude or no?
Dude.
Aaron, comment. You don't have to lower yourself to comment.
Robot or reptile.
Now we're talking about
just kidding.
Now we're talking.
Did you hear about his chef?
Oh, yeah.
We're not that kind of show, so we're going to move on. But I want to ask you, disclosure or disnosure? What do you guys think? Are you excited about it, or do you give a shit that the government's now telling you that we have aliens and stuff?
Is it going to make a difference? That's my question.
That is the question.
I mean, it doesn't seem like there's any ramifications for them anyway. So,
does it feel like we learned about JFK, right? They released all that. They released this newest thing on UFOs. All the stuff on the COVID stuff has come out for the most part. And does anybody really give a shit? Like, is anybody out there? Everything's blamed on Trump. That's number one. I see that. That's like a program that just runs and runs and runs with people. So I just don't know. I just don't know that for me, it's fun that I'd like to see some things. I'd like to actually, bring out a UFO onto the White House lawn. Let me see. But, I don't care about documents. Like, okay, great. 1963, this is what happened. That was freaking forever ago.
Anybody could have typed it up.
He committed suicide and was found in a suitcase with 2 suicide bullet holes in the back of his head in a suitcase in a river. Yeah, we heard about that case. It's a wild thing. And then the government that's been lying to you for 80 years is now the one that's going to suddenly become altruistic. It's
right.
Interesting. I find it to be an interesting part of the game. But what implications do you feel, if any, will come of this news being revealed to the public? Not that they care, but do you think that there's anything perhaps the government or the ETs themselves have planned beyond this announcement?
Of course, always. There's always something planned with every single announcement that they make. I just haven't figured it out yet, and especially in regards to the aliens, how this is going to play out in regards to, intertwining them in with maybe society. I don't know. What is their intention of letting us know now versus like all these years of withholding this information from us?
Yeah, I think we have a tough time seeing people with scarf coverings enough that are human and very normal and that you can hug and breed with and all that, let alone a gray or a reptilian or something like that. It feels like some of us have a long way to go when it comes to...
But is that how they look? Or is that how we are convinced that they look?
And this is the thing. I heard Daryl Anka talking about this. I'm a Daryl Anka fan. Reach out to me, Daryl Anka. I'd love to talk to you. And Bashar. And he was talking about this this integration of the first wave, if you will, if you view the places this is a possibility in this lens, which is just fun. Then he was talking about that it will probably most likely be like the Pleiadian types, the ones that look the most like us, the hanging out with Billy Meyer and all that kind of types. So that may be pretty interesting. And even that may be a Westworld type situation to where they're like, okay, aliens are here. It's safe to come out. And then just like it's, which Men in Black was that? I don't know, the second one.
Love the Men in Black.
All take their masks off in the post office and they're all aliens, and they're like, great, we can finally get out of this suit. Yeah. Do you think it's going to be something like that? And if so, like what's the world look like with Squid Guy, checking you out at 7-Eleven?
Right, exactly. Are they going to introduce them to humans and have them live among our society? Like, I haven't figured out the
They
intention
may already
yet.
be doing that. Are they just going to now come out as themselves? It's basically like
Right.
out of the closet for aliens. You know?
Well, that's the Simpson thing, right? He takes the mask off the aliens.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe the truth will be revealed.
I mean, again, you don't know with false flags and the way they do things and the holograms they can use now and the makeup they can. We don't know what's real and what's false. I don't even know if I would believe it.
Yeah,
It's just another movie playing out.
One of the blaseness answer about this whole thing. Like, why don't people care? It's like they're just over your shit, dude. Nobody believes it. Then that's the same thing. They'll be on their cell phones, UFOs flying by, and nobody cares. It's like, whatever. It says drink Pepsi on the side of it.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, unless they catch it on their camera, they don't care. Then they're internet famous, Yeah,
they have little flags behind them that say like Joe's Auto Shop on it and shit like that. They'll be employing those because they get a lot of attention. So that'd be a good advertising market.
Yes.
Well, it would certainly change some things for sure. I mean, if you were to bring out tomorrow, they make an announcement that, by the way, there is a culture that you don't know about, right? That there is people that are in disguise that are actually from other planets, and we're going to reveal them to you today, right? The amount of questions that would be out there, right? That people would ask, like, what the hell? Where did they come from? Where do they live? How does it work? On and on and on. And what if they were to say to you that we live much differently on our planet and we live in this kind of harmony and this is what we do? And would we change for aliens? Would we look at them as a higher authority? I don't know how that would all work.
But why change now? Why? If they've lived among us this whole time, why would that matter?
Well, they're undercover.
Yeah, not as themselves. That's the whole thing. Because what if it is like your neighbor Jenny's like a lizard person? And you're like, oh, we play badminton together and shit. She's told me all about kids, and I know better. Like,
what if you had sex with her?
Oh God, spying on them.
There are stories about that, by the way. People having sex with lizard people, and the tails come out, and they like turn.
Oh my God!
Like arriving and shit.
I'm sorry. What?
I know. Jarin, you doing okay?
Hey,
I know.
Inevitably, it's all illusion, anyways.
That's the thing.
Let's play an evil game right now. Evil trick on our minds.
Interesting.
I think just I'll see if I can reconnect with a couple topics, but the stuff about like what's being presented in the mainstream or what's out there, I think that 99% of it is a distraction for any of us. I think that pertinent information, resonant information for us will come by design. And that's for a different conversation when we talk about cosmic human design and our interface of our connection to the field, to the environment or the true field. So certain things will come to you that you need to know, or certain things will repetitiously, synchronistically come to you so that you need to know. But if you're out there seeking that stuff, most of it is just a distraction. I know that if I thought I knew this years ago, but if I even look back at myself, say 5 years ago and said, well, what has any of it done looking at any of that stuff? Not much. There's a few things I needed to know that were in my direct environment. Like during COVID, I decided to head to Florida. It felt like a more lighter, easier path. At that time, it was. We had less influence. That doesn't mean it won't become a bomb site tomorrow. Like I had no idea. But at the time, I had to interact with the field and make choices. But for the most part, it distracts you. And I know that time, that precious time, could be used in my own life and my own creation. And if I use it in my own creation and I pay attention to who's in front of me and I pay attention to who's real in front of me and what it is we're building and what it is we're doing, Greg, Victoria, we've done great. We've done the best we can. But if we lived that scenario, we'd be farther along on whatever you want to call it. Living your dream, being in a higher version of your timeline of your lifetime, being in a higher frequency. Maybe the whole environment would shift. Like if I rose higher, I wouldn't even see some of these things I'm seeing now because life is a reflection of myself. And so like, it reminds me this is what I wanted to say last, because I'm kind of touching on a few topics, but the Jason Archaics thing, going back to, I remember one of his videos and he was talking about, some of what the Native American, the Hopi and other cultures have said, the elders, even then, whether it's hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, whatever that means. They knew then, and they said that 98% of the population, which is going to be less of a percentage now because more are arriving, more are awakening. Let's just use that phrase. We'll go with the program in the simulation and that's it. And the ones that are the outsiders, they'll be fine with being the minority. They'll do their thing, and they'll know that no matter what catastrophes happen, that the true field, nature, what is organic intelligence around them, will put them in safety. Then we'll put them in a higher threshold of reality. Then we'll give them new information of how to build better everything, have more technology, whatever it may be. That it doesn't matter what the matrix is doing. There's a field behind every matrix. And as we see what we want to see, believe what we want to believe, and pursue what we want to pursue, this is how we're building it. And life and what is behind the unfolding, let's say if we're in a movie theater, in a movie, like you said, and it goes like this, that's how we do it. That's how we arrive there. And that's what always is the minority. Thankfully now becoming more, but still the minority. And you can glance at those things, just like having a video game or having a beer or, doing whatever. Like you play there, but don't be lost there, because it's taking your attention and it's causing those scenarios to manifest. Or more importantly, it's absorbing your life force energy so that it's not going into creative mode. And we want to be in creative mode. And then as we're in creative mode, we'll see the story unfold. We'll see what happens. And I'm sure like COVID was nothing compared to what's coming. It was nothing. There is so much more coming than was that. But that doesn't mean I have any fear. My last jolt here, like Greg said, I have frustrations with my own personal karma, my own personal transformation, my own physical body, my own mind. Those frustrations of breakthrough, back, expand, contract, things open up. All of a sudden, there's another karmic pattern. Those kind of things are extremely frustrating at times. Those kinds of things are the real work. But as far as like fear of life, no, we don't want to have any of that fear, because the cosmos is a loving, nurturing, harmonious, sentient being, the whole of it. And we have nothing to fear other than fearing itself. And I think that we really want to kind of stay away from the fear as much as we can and just focus on what we want to see.
Damn. So well articulated, dude. I mean, I feel the exact, nailed it, like banger, nailed it. The only thing I have left to say is all the ways to find y'all will be located down in the show notes. Jarin, Greg, Victoria, thank you so much for coming and hanging out. We're going to do this many more times, and I'm truly grateful for y'all. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. Appreciate it.